to the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcast where you can get your takes from a washed-up Division III cornerback and his friends. I'm your host, Grayson Jenkins, joined again by my good friend and co-host Ty Sturb. Obviously, is still with family, so he's not able to make it. But all three of us are riding high right now. The Saints are on a 2-game win streak. Shout out to the Saints. Tyler Shough is carrying our team and providing hope to all the Saints fans and the city of New Orleans. Even hit the eeny meeny on the field after flopping on a slide, which Panthers fans are still coping on Twitter right now. It's absolutely insane. They're trying to fight in every single Saints fans comments. It's nuts. It is nuts right now how much they feel about it. But that being said, I just got a quick clip to play with how Ty, Sturb, and I are feeling right now. That is us. But yeah, no, I think all three of us are riding high. But the big conversation for today, before we get into our picks, is going to be the rookie quarterback situation, right? We're going to be ranking all of the top 4 or 5 rookie quarterbacks. There's been a few guys that, and maybe at the bottom of that list, it gets a little bit shaky. Ty and I disagree a little bit here. We'll see. But starting off, my number one is going to be Tyler Shough. And I know that's going to be higher than some people have him right now. And he's not getting the national media attention that I think he should be getting right now. He just drove within the last 4 minutes of the game against the Panthers this past week a touchdown drive that Chris Olave was featured numerous times on, and a game tying or a game winning field goal drive, all in under 4 minutes without Devin Neal, without Devon Vele. He was throwing to Kevin Austin Jr. on that drive, which is something that you just don't want to see for a rookie quarterback. But obviously, he was making it work, and he was elevating those players, which is what I want to see a rookie quarterback do: is elevating the players. He attacks the middle of the field a lot, and that's he's successful across the middle of the field. He's good under pressure, which is something that Ty, you, me, Sturb, we all were just dragging him for his pressure, his problems under pressure, and that one throw that everyone was dragging him for against Stanford, I believe it was, where he just kind of flipped it underhand, and it was really really bad. But he
It's
hasn't
disgusting.
he hasn't done that at all, except for I want to say a few weeks ago he had one where he kind of threw it away to Devin Neal, and it kind of looked similar to that play. It didn't end up being as bad. But Tyler Shough's level of play has significantly increased every single week he's played. He threw 272 yards and a touchdown last week, 2 rushing touchdowns against the Bucks 2 weeks ago in the rain, and then 3 weeks ago against the Dolphins, he had 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and should have had a game-winning touchdown to Chris Olave that he dropped. So he's been balling out as of recently. The play, obviously, the opponents are kind of what you want to see as well. We're playing divisional opponents in the Bucks and the Panthers, the leaders, playing for playoff contention. So good to see from Shough. But I want to hear, Ty, what your thoughts are on your number one quarterback and who you would have at the top of your list.
Yeah, I like Shough. He's definitely on my list. I mean, I would hope he's on my list. This list is great, but at one, I got Jaxson Dart. I just think
Wow.
what Dart is doing with the talent around it. I think we talked about this a little bit before. I think Shough, with Olave, with Juwan Johnson, they have some better talent than what Dart has. He loses Neighbors, he loses Scatterboo, and he's had them in big games, in close games against Denver, against they beat Philly, the Chargers, right? So some top tier talent, and not to say that Shough hasn't, right? But um, I don't put the Bucks and the Panthers in the same field as I would like the Chargers, Eagles, and Broncos.
I think that's fair.
And I think the touchdown to interception ratio is pretty big for me, right? 13-4, Shucks 6-5, just including passing touchdowns. And I mean the knock on Dart. I think the only knock on Dart right now is just availability, right? Availability is the
Yep.
best ability, obviously. But I love that he is a true competitor, and he's just trying to help his team win. I don't think that he's going out there trying to be stupid, trying to make stupid plays. I think it's he wants to win so bad that he's willing to do anything for that team, and whether that's through the air, through the ground, and he kind of is like the entirety of that offense, especially at this point in time. When they had Scat and when they had Neighbors early in the season, that's a different story. Obviously Neighbors got hurt in Dart's first start, but at this point in time, like it just feels like he does everything for them. And if he gets hurt or if he doesn't play, out of his mind, they don't have a chance in most games.
Yeah, no, that's definitely my big knock on Dart, as like you just mentioned, is just the availability and him taking hits that he really shouldn't. And like you said, it's him not necessarily trying to be like selfish or anything like that. It's him trying to win games for his team. I do think for Dart, I want to see, a little bit more from him in what's it called? In scheme, in the moment where he's not running out of the pocket, things like that. I want to see him in the pocket more a little bit, getting those throws to guys. But like you said, I mean, he's not working with the greatest talent, and that's something that
You
obviously
know who he
hurts his
reminds me of?
evaluation. Go ahead. Shoot.
Bo last year. He reminds me of Bo last year. And when I scouted him this past offseason, because I did a ton of scouting on Bo 2 off seasons ago, I did Bo and JJ McCarthy because I just knew that Denver was going to end up with them before I was kind of doing the podcast with you guys. And it's just Dart and Bo, they just, the off platform, like the out of the system plays, right? Just like the ability to create, outside of the pocket as a runner. I just saw a lot of similarities. I think there are some differences. Bo with the quicker release, like he at Oregon, he was more in that short game, and at Ole Miss, that was more the deep ball game under Lane Kiffin. But I think that's just stylistically how their coaches were coaching, dialing it up. But I did see a lot, the creating plays. That was Bo a lot in year one. He wasn't playing within the system. He kind of, the footwork and playing within the pocket and the poise within the pocket wasn't there, and quite honestly, like, has not been there until, like, maybe 3 weeks ago against Kansas City. I think would say it was one of the first times that you saw Bo for an entire game kind of be able to play poise within the pocket, and, I think Dart has the ability to get there. I think it just depends on the coaching that they bring in and the additional talent that they bring in, but I do see a lot of similarities between the 2 of them.
Yeah, and let me ask you this real quick because you mentioned, you scouted JJ and Bo. Where do you think you would be at right now if you ended up with JJ over Bo? Do you think the team would be anywhere near as successful, or do you think that, do you think JJ would have acclimated to the Sean Payton offense as well as Bo?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta assume that JJ was healthy last year. At this
Yeah.
point in time, I don't know. I think that what Bo brings to the offense and the ability to create outside of Sean Payton's offense has propelled us, especially in a lot of different situations, like early in the season when we had to come back. I think with JJ, he doesn't do enough outside of a scheme. You saw that in college. You kind of seen that in the NFL that it wouldn't make up for Sean Payton's deficiencies at times. Do I think Sean Payton's got better at calling games? Yes, but I just don't think I think we would be maybe the same record last year, but coming into this year, like, it would probably be the same thing. Like, you'd probably be like 10-7, like, fighting for a wild card spot. You have a
Mhm.
good enough defense, your weapons are good enough. But I mean, maybe not, right? I mean, look at what's going on in Minnesota. Obviously, he missed a ton of time, but Justin Jefferson's better than anything that we have. Jordan Addison's better than anything we have besides Courtland Sutton. So I don't know that I think we'd be fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. And while we're at it with JJ McCarthy, because this is kind of his first season, right? Like obviously he was developing last season because he was unhealthy, but would you put him I would put him below Dart, Shuck, and Ward like I think I would put him below those three guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the NFL QB stats right now on StatMuse, and they have JJ in here, and he's fourth in like all the statistics, and I think that's pretty accurate to where he would fall. Like the 11 interceptions is tough, right? Like that's more than any of these other guys have had, and he's
Mhm.
had a year to acclimate to the offense. Even though he wasn't playing, he was still getting all those mental reps, and he's played only as many games as Shuck. He's played a lot less games than Ward and
Yep.
Dart, and he's thrown double the amount of interceptions. I don't know that is I I I don't know. I've gotten knocked for knocking on him all season long, but it's so up and down, and
It's
I don't know.
worrisome,
If
yeah.
he can't get on the same page with Justin Jefferson too, which is that's concerning. If you can't get on the same page as maybe the best receiver in the NFL, I have some
And
concerns there.
it's so bad to it's to the point where Justin Jefferson is being taken out of people's top 3 conversations, which is just so
He might not have
drastically.
1,000 yards.
Yeah, it's so drastically different to come in comparison to where we were at last year with Justin Jefferson. Is like we were like, yeah, no matter what the quarterback is, he'll be able to succeed. And we've finally seen now with JJ McCarthy, like that's just not true. And maybe I would say definitely that's more on JJ McCarthy than it is on Justin Jefferson because he's getting open, he's not finding him, like things like that, and it's just tough.
He did well with Wentz. When Wentz
Yeah.
had to spot start, he did fine with him. So We've seen Darnold, we've seen Kirk, we've seen Wentz, we've seen it all. Like Nick Mullins has done well with Justin Jefferson. So
I forgot about the small Mullins era. But anyways, I wouldn't even call it an era, but just a joke. But anyways, moving on, my number two is going to be Cam Ward. I obviously think that Jaxson Dart, we just discussed him. He's gonna be my third, and I don't think it's really far behind Cam Ward. The only reason I have Cam Ward at two above him is because I think his skill level is a little bit more versatile than Jaxson Dart. I think you can do more on like a different arm angles, things like that. And that's similar to what we said before the season, right? Like we were kind of Cam Ward can be on the right sideline and throw it to the second to left hash or the second hash far to the left and make a good throw. And he's done that a couple of times this season. It's not what you want to see a quarterback do, right? Throwing across his body, across the field in the NFL, but he's made those throws and made them look good. He's had to be under, he's had to be under duress half of the snaps. Like it feels like he's under pressure half the snaps that he's been playing in the NFL so far. And he obviously, it's going to be tough to uplift that offense right now. Like Ty and I were saying, Ty made a joke that Jeffrey Simmons is his best receiver at this point in time. And honestly, like it's not a terrible joke, but I think Alec Iamaner could grow. It could end up elevating a little bit towards throughout his career, but they definitely need more weapons for Cam Ward. I like what I'm seeing from him. I do think that he is the right guy for them. They're not gonna go quarterbacking in this year. Whereas I think outside of these top three, I think the Browns could go quarterback. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if they went quarterback with these three teams: the Giants, the Titans, and the Saints. I think all three have their quarterback for at least the next couple of years. We'll see where they go. But Ty, who's going to be your number two and then number three? I know we discussed Ward, Shuck, and Dart, but what's the order there?
yeah, for me, I got Cam at 2 and Shuck at 3. I think the Ward Dart thing for me, I was so close to having Dart above Ward in the pre-draft
Mhm.
process. I know we talked a lot about what Cam Ward can do with his arm and his ability to create as kind of just a physical guy, right? Like, I mean, you saw him throw Grant Delpit off of him and just the
Yeah.
way that he can play, but he's not a big runner, right? And I think that Dart, like, can do all of the things throwing the football and then brings that extra aspect of being able to run the football. Now, granted, I want him to get down and get out of bounds, but I think that extra layer, I don't think that Ward is that much better than Dart as a thrower of the football. I do like the point about, the different arm angles and stuff like that. And that is definitely, that's the Matt Stafford-esque thing, but I don't think that for me is as important as being able to bring something in the run game like Dart does. Ward though, like yeah, I mean, like you said, right? I said Simmons is probably his best weapon, and I'm not even really joking. I mean, we haven't seen anyone in this offense have spatial presence like Jeff Simmons did on that touchdown. So, it's he doesn't have a good offensive line, he doesn't have a good run game, he doesn't have good receivers, and he doesn't have good defense, and he doesn't have a good coaching staff, and he still has looked good at times, right? And I think even when he looks bad, I can't pin it on him at all because it's just he's not being set up for success. So I got him at 2, and then at 3, I have Shuck. I like what I've seen out of Shuck so far. The first game wasn't great, but the last couple games have been really good against some division opponents. I would like to see what he can be. I think that he has the potential to be better than both the guys above him. Like, I don't
Mhm.
think for me, it's not that far apart, right? I saw the potential in the pre-draft process, but it was can he eliminate the stupid mistakes?
Yeah.
Um, he still has 5 interceptions, but it's I think that was more front loaded than it has been the past couple games. Um, I want to see what he can do with some better weapons because then I think we can start to see him climb the ladder in this ranking a little bit. And we could keep saying this thing about Cam Ward too, right? If they never had weapons, we could be like, well, what if he had weapons? What if he had weapons? Eventually, Shuck could climb over him if they get him a solid receiver one. I think Olave's good, but I think they need something more than that. I think they
Yeah.
need to add to the run game too. Jeremiah Love could be a good option, but I still think that he is the better core. And I've liked I'm a little bit surprised what I saw in the run game out of him too. I think
Mhm.
we knew that he was athletic, but
But
I
not
didn't
the
know that he was
second
quite
coming of Josh Allen, you know.
well, yeah, I wouldn't quite say that, but that the what he's been able to bring in the run game, he's again, like Dart, oftentimes been one of the better runners for them, been
Mhm.
their leading rusher at times. So I like Shuck. I'm higher on him now than I was in the pre-draft process because I was concerned about the mistakes. and the stupid mental errors, but he's definitely seemingly cleaned them up. And I know you hate Kellen Moore, but I do think that is in part due to Kellen Moore. I
It
think
is. Yeah.
even Spencer Rattler wasn't making that many mistakes, and Spencer Rattler in college was a guy that took a lot of sacks, threw a lot of decent amount of interceptions. So I tip my hat to Kellen Moore a little bit for the job that he's done, especially the past couple weeks.
Yeah, in I want to say the last 3 weeks, the Saints with they were struggling in the red zone the last for this to start the season up through like week what are we to week 15, 16. So this was week through week 12. They were 31st in the league in the red zone percentage. Now in the last 3 weeks, they're second in the NFL in red zone percentage. So they're turning around. Kellen Moore obviously is doing much better, but yeah, like Ty said, I'm not convinced with Kellen Moore yet, but we'll see how it goes. Ty, I want to say this really quick with Cam Ward and obviously them having likely the number one pick this year. If the Giants don't end up winning, I think the Giants have a winnable game on this schedule though. So I see them kind of getting out of it. Um, this Titans team, they're past drafts, right? They've gone a lot of defensive players. They haven't given them many weapons. Obviously, Chimera Dike and Alec Iamane were like the two big receiver additions in the draft. They really have not gone and tried to get offensive weapons. They've gone off offensive linemen in the drafts, but they haven't been going, offensive linemen in the draft, considering the pressure rate that they're allowing right now, is absolutely insane. But I really want to go see them go and try to get weapons in this draft, especially with a good, relatively decent receiver class, at least at the top. So I want to see them go and get some receivers for them, maybe a running back, probably a tight end. I know Okonkwo was
It's not
supposed to
bad.
be. He's like, yeah, he was like he was a little bit more highly talked about than he's performing, but he's not a bad tight end. But I think they could definitely improve there as well. Really quick, Ty, the number
I
four
think
and
best case
five. Sorry, go ahead, Ty, real quick.
I was just gonna say, I think best case scenario for Tennessee is that they could trade back with either the Rams
Hmm.
or the Browns because they both have 2 first round picks. So if they can get, 2 of those and take Jeremiah Love and find a way to get a guy like, I don't know, Makai Lemon or something like that, right? Trade back up. I don't know. Though I think Makai Lemon is I'm very high on him. Obviously, USC fan, but he just won the Biletnikoff Award and elite
Yep.
route runner. You add a guy like that, and if you can add a guy like Jeremiah Love, kind of depends how far they rise in the pre-draft process. But from mocks, I've seen Love falling in the teens and Lemon in the 20s. Like if you could find a way to get both of them, instant elevation to this offense,
Yep.
especially with Cam Moore.
Yeah, another guy would be like Elijah Surratt. If Lemon goes too high, like if he moves too
Yep.
high up, I think the Surratt could end up in that 20s range, something like that. So we'll see. I mean, and you said the Rams, right? Trading up. If the Rams get the one or and somehow go and get Mendoza, that would be a crazy move for the NFL, which is it's another reason why the NFL is such like a good league, right? Is because crazy shit like this happens all the time where the Falcons they over evaluate their team, think they're better than they are, and then they end up being trash and a team gets their first round pick that's a Super Bowl contender. It's crazy.
Hey, JPJ's been pretty good though. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's
but
a
it's
top 10
not
rookie right now.
but is that worth losing a top 10 pick? That's the question. And
Were
that's
they
and
going to
it
be
depends.
the question too is like, were they gonna be in a position to take a quarterback? Like, because
Yeah.
that's the need? No, I don't think so. I don't think a lot of these guys I honestly don't think Dante Moore and Ty Simpson are gonna end up coming out. So if it's just Mendoza at the end of the day, you're not in a position to take a quarterback. Like they're better off taking a chance at getting Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa,
Yep.
somebody, right? Like someone else that's a veteran option.
Yeah, yeah. This quarterback class definitely underperformed the expectations prior to the college football season. But, anyways, moving on to 4 and 5, Ty. We got a couple guys that could be named here, but I want to hear who your number 5 is first, or your number 4.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. I think if I go based on what I saw in a short period of time, I would probably say Riley Leonard. I was really impressed with how he stepped in a game against a really good defense. Already down like 17 or 21 points. They were down pretty big at that point in time. And I mean, I was all for them keeping him as the starter coming in the next week. I
Yep.
know they went with Phil, but I thought that what Riley brings to the table as an athlete, um, was similar to what Daniel Jones brings to the table as an athlete, and I think that his ability to throw the football isn't that far off from Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, if you think about it before the season, right? Like everyone looked at him like, okay, he's a bust, he's a backup. I mean, you saw the job that Steichen did with him. I thought he could have done a similar job with Riley Leonard because he's a smart football player, athletic guy, really, really tough guy. So I thought, you could have got something out of him. So I'm going to put him at 4 for me because I think that in a short period of time, right, I think that he was the better overall quarterback than some of these other guys. At 5, I'm going to give it a tie between Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel because I think the highs for Shedeur have been better than the highs for Dylan Gabriel, and I think the lows for Shedeur are much lower than what we've seen from
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel. I think, Shedeur has kind of taken advantage of really bad teams like the Raiders and the
Mhm.
Titans, and Dylan Gabriel was playing against some decently tough opponents. So I think I don't really, neither of them separated. And I mean, just look at the numbers alone. Like Shedeur already has triple the amount of interceptions in half the games that Dylan
Yeah, that
Gabriel had. So, say what you want about Dylan Gabriel not being an explosive player or doing much for the offense, but I think he was doing exactly what they needed them to do. Let the defense win you some football games, hand off the ball to Quinshon Judkins, and pick your spots with some of your young receivers and tight ends, and just hang on to the football, right? That gives you a chance to win football games all the time. He knew that he was not going to be the long term answer there, and neither is Shedeur. And I just don't think, I don't think either of them is really separated from one or the other. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Gabriel, honestly.
Yeah, I think the only reason I would have Shedeur at 4 right now is simply just because Riley Leonard only played half a game, and I can't really the valuation isn't fully there. But I completely agree that if Riley Leonard had a full few games where he looked like that, like he did in that game, and it was a 4-game sample size, I would put him the same number of games as Shedeur, I would put him above Shedeur if he was performing that way. Shedeur Sanders already has 112 sack yards on 13 sacks. He's trying to do too much when he's under pressure. He's trying to
It's
make
absurd.
things happen, and he's not a gifted enough athlete. Obviously, he's gifted to the point where he made it to NFL, but he's not a gifted enough athlete. He's not Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, these guys that are able to avoid sack yards like that. And he has a 4.3 interception rate, which in comparison to all of these other guys on this list, except for JJ McCarthy, is triple or double their numbers. And obviously, you compare that to Dylan Gabriel, like you just said, he had 1.1% interception rate. He wasn't throwing picks as much, but he wasn't necessarily throwing the ball deep because he's physically limited, I would say, and more than Shedeur and Riley Leonard. I would put Riley Leonard right below Shedeur and then Dylan Gabriel kind of below them, just because Dylan Gabriel, like you said, he can make things happen. He can kind of control the offense. But Dylan Gabriel is so physically limited where he wasn't able to throw the ball over the middle because he's so short that the ball was getting tipped consistently, or he wasn't able to see guys across the middle. And it was limiting their offense just a little bit more than I'd like to see. But yeah, I definitely think these 3 guys are a good chunk below our top 3 at this point in time. And maybe Riley Leonard, if he gets another chance in that Colts offense, moves up the ranks a
I mean,
little
Quinn
bit.
Ewers is a guy who's about to get an opportunity that
That too.
could easily climb over some of these guys. I just like you said, the sack yards thing, I mean, that's absurd with Shedeur.
Yep.
Like, I just can't take a guy who the negative plays are outweigh the positives. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's nuts, and like you just mentioned, Quinn Ewers really he has a shot to go and earn himself a spot next if he somehow goes in and wins, like, 3 straight games, I think maybe you get a chance. It's gonna be tough for him to, solidify himself as the starter for next year, but he can at least make it a conversation.
They're not in a position to draft one.
Yeah,
And
it
so
would be a vet. Definitely be a vet.
they're gonna be $90 million in dead cap if they get rid of, Tua
It's
Tagovailoa,
crazy,
so
yeah.
they're not in a position to get a Kyler Murray. Right there, their best case scenario is Quinn looks decent enough, and honestly, if not, give Zach Wilson another chance because he looked pretty good
Yep.
in Denver when he had chances in the preseason, so I think that's probably what they'll ride out with if they decide to get rid of Tua.
Yeah, yeah, it's nuts. I just don't know what they're gonna do with him, and I don't know if any team would really trade I just don't see a team really
You know, do the
trading much
Russell
for him with
Wilson
his
cut him,
concussion history. Yeah,
cut him.
it's wild. Anyways,
You can win with it, right? It's been proven. Denver did
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, We'll see.
I
We'll
don't
see.
believe
I
in the
just
Dolphins organization, but it can be
do,
done.
do you think McDaniel or earns another year? Or you think he's done?
Depends how Quinn looks the last couple weeks.
I think that's fair.
I really think.
I don't think it's fully McDaniel. I don't think it's his fault fully, but I definitely think he is to blame for some of it. But
They have not built a good team. Like,
mhm.
they're the Greer, their GM who got fired. Like, I mean, the offensive line guys that they've lost over the years, between, Hunt and Armstead, I don't even know that it's entirely Tua's fault because the way that this offense works, it's, a lot of the quick game stuff, and even in that, like, they're not getting good protection. So, they've had Tyreek go down, and he just got older, and I don't know, it's like so many different factors of team building that they did not do a good job of. Defensively, like, they paid guys like Chubb and Jalen Phillips who did much of nothing, and, it's just poor team building.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. And I want to see kind of how they go into the draft this year and attack the draft and move on to next season because it's going to be a big overhaul and changes for that team. Anyways, moving on, we got our week 16 leaderboard here. Ty is back at the top. Once again, I believe like the middle of the week he was a couple spots down, but then fought his way up through the rest of the late slate and the later primetime games. But Ty's at the top at 151 wins. He hate me now in the Phoenix Fluffer at tied with 150 wins. Actually, there's two other guys there too. Ryan and Chad are there as well. I'm at seventh with 147 wins, so still 4 spots back. Can come back a little bit. Hammer's down at 12th with 141 wins, and then Sturb is at 18th with 135. Once again, he did forget to make picks a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he
So,
made them.
oh, he made them
Made
on
the
here,
wrong
but
ones.
yeah, yeah, and he's fallen back there. He's 18th. Poor guy. He's not with us. We'll see how what he does this week. See how he stands out. But yeah, stir behind the pack a little bit here. Anyways, moving right into the games to make picks, we got Thursday night football. The Rams are taking on the Seahawks. This is a huge matchup for the NFC West in the playoff contention. The Rams obviously are having all kinds of struggles going into this game. The Devontae Adams is likely going to be out. I believe Sean McVay is sick and he had to travel separate from the team, which is also just an interesting storyline. And their plane was having issues today, so they were not able to fly in on time. So they were delayed. They're trying to find alternate flight or travel plans to get to Seattle. It's not the end of the world because it's on the same time zone. They're not really. They're just going north, so it's not like the end of the world. They're not going to the East Coast or anything like that. Whereas the other side, the Seahawks don't have to worry about any of this, right? They're gonna be healthy on offense, I believe. I don't remember any major injuries, seeing anything like that, major injury wise on offense, at least for the weapons. Um, it's just gonna be up to Sam Darnold at home. Can he attack this Rams defense that at times has struggled? And I think the answer is going to be that he should be able to. The weather in this one, there's going to be major winds throughout the game that could heavily impact that passing game. But Clint Kubiak does love the run game. Can he attack the Rams D line that has been solid against the run? And can they hold on to the football? That's a big thing when it comes to the Rams defense. They've been punching out a lot of fumbles, and that's something that the Rams are going to need to capitalize on with missing Devontae Adams. Obviously, the Rams have Puka Nakua, they have Kyron Williams, they have Blake Corum, they have weapons to throw to for Matthew Stafford and Parkinson last week. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. 2 touchdown game. Like I think the
Yeah.
first one should have been. I don't know if that first one was actually a touchdown. It got reviewed. They said he was in, but I think he was a little short. But I think I picked the Rams going into this, but with Devontae Adams out and all of these issues, I'm gonna have to go with the Seahawks. I think the Rams pass offense is gonna be significantly hindered in this one. The weather is gonna play into the to the favor of the Seahawks defense, so I'm gonna have to go with the Seahawks here at home. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I was teetering the whole time while you were talking. Coming into this, I took the Rams.
Yeah,
And then as soon as you said the thing about the wind, I started thinking about, like, who throws like, Matt Stafford, I think that his ball has the ability to cut through the wind. Like, he throws
I could see that.
such a tight spiral, a hard ball. I don't think Darnold quite as much. I don't know. I that just got me a little bit there. So I'm gonna go with the
Yeah,
Rams. I think that they run the football better than the Seahawks do. When you think about both these defenses, I think the Seahawks' strength is a little bit more on the back end too.
Mhm.
So if we have to get into a 13 personnel, type of game where, yeah, you can't throw the ball, that's the Rams' MO, right? They love getting into 13 personnel, running the ball with Blake Corum, running the ball with Kyron Williams. I think that's where they'll probably have their most success. So give me the Rams.
Yeah, no, I picked the Rams going into this. And I'm like, I'm gonna kick myself if, that was very deep. I apologize to the listeners out there. I'll kick myself if the Seahawks end up losing this one because I saw that weather report, um, made me change my pick, but I'll stick with the Seahawks, see what they do. I am still looking to come back over Ty. Anyways, moving on, Ty, we got a Saturday game here. We got the Eagles taking on the Commanders with Marcus Mariota. What are your thoughts? I
Yeah,
believe it's
Jaden
Marcus
Daniel.
Mariota at least, yeah.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels officially shut down for the rest of the season. So we'll get Mariota. They have a bit of a banged up backfield. Chris Rodriguez has been out. He was out last week. Maybe he comes back this week. I don't think any of that matters. At this point in time, this Commanders team is just not a good enough football team
Yep.
to be competing with the Philadelphia Eagles. I initially thought maybe the Commanders will steal one of these if Jaden was playing, just because it's Jaden Daniels. He's good enough talent to lift everyone up around him, but Philly's just too good. Even if they still have some offensive struggles, AJ Brown will feast in this game, and the defense will just the defense that will do enough to shut down the Commanders. So give me the Eagles. It's not
Yeah,
even close.
give me the Eagles here too. I was honestly surprised that the commies won last week so decisively, but I think the Eagles will be able to handle business in Washington here. Moving on to the second Saturday game, we got the Packers taking on the Bears on prime time. Obviously the Packers gonna be without Micah Parsons, which very heavily favors the Bears, gives them a little bit of a boost going into this one, gives them an easier defense to attack, especially in the run game, in the pass game, all of the above. The Packers, Christian Watson's going to be out for this one as well. They're already without Tucker Kraft. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is pounding the rock right now. Had a really good game against Ty your Broncos last week. That was a big boost for them. This past game though, against this Bears defense that's going to look to turn the ball over. Jordan Love, I think will throw a pick in this one. The Bears. This is a tough one for me because I think the Bears are the solid team. I picked them to win before Micah Parsons went down a couple weeks ago when we were doing who's going to win the division. I'm going to pick the Bears here to win still at home and against the Packers. I think the Micah Parsons injury will hurt them, especially that defense already. They traded Clark away. They also are missing Wyatt. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bears here to win in Chicago. What are your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, give me the Bears. They're a team that wants to run the football, and anytime you lose a guy like Micah Parsons, that obviously hurts. We all think about him as an elite pass rusher, but he is an elite run stuffer as well. That's gonna, go into the favor of the Bears. And Jordan Love, I mean, Toyota-thon is his Toyota-thon run is officially over after last week, throwing 2 interceptions against the Broncos. So the Bears, who actually lead the league in interceptions, they're going to be
Mhm.
opportunistic. They're going to get one or two. And that'll sway the game. It was a close game last time. It came down to Caleb Williams at the end. He threw a pick. I think
Yep.
that the Bears end up on the other side this time, so give me the Bears.
Yeah, and I'll say this real quick. Caleb Williams is already one of the hardest quarterbacks in the NFL to bring down in the pocket, and I think without Micah Parsons really adding that speed to that rush, I think
I
that
mean, you saw
hurts
what
him.
Bo was able to do that rush, even
Yeah,
with Parsons.
yeah,
Ryan Clark said he tore Parsons' ACL.
it is.
That's a
I'm
crazy
not smiling because
it's a crazy
it's never
line.
funny when someone gets injured, but yeah, he did break his ankles to a point of injury, which is nuts. But anyways, moving on, Ty, we got the Bucks taking on the Panthers, a big game for the NFC South playoff race. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a huge game, like you said. For the Panthers, it really does come down to how well can they run the football. I think if Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard have had good games for them, that's kind of they go their way, right? If they run the football well, things start to open up for Bryce Young, Ted McMillan, Jalen Coker start to become options, and that's going to be tough against Tampa Bay because they have a good defensive front with Vita Vea being a huge run stuffer. And I think Bryce Young just has to play a clean game, let the run game continue to pound away at it. And the defense, I mean, they have a tough matchup. I think, their secondary is not that bad with JC Horn and some of those guys, but you saw what Mike Evans did last week. In his first game back, he just looked amazing. I know Emeka's kinda gone downhill a little bit.
Yep.
Godwin started to feel a little bit more comfortable. There was no reason that Tampa Bay should have lost that game. They were up 14 points. I
It's painful.
I have no clue how they
It's
lost that game. I was baffled. I was baffled. But I think it's kind of a bounce back game for them. Uh, Baker, I think that he'll play a little bit more of a clean game. He kind of took it all on the chin and was like, "Yeah, like I need to be better." And you love to see that out of your quarterback. I think Bucky's still kind of getting his legs underneath him, and you know, it's been weird. They kind of haven't used him in the red zone at all. Like Sean Tucker starts to come into the game. It's not even Rashad White. Very, very confusing. I understand that Sean Tucker's a bit more of a thick back, but like, you know, uh, Bucky, he's just a weapon in the pass game, and I don't know, very, very confusing what they're kind of doing there. But I think at the end of the day, Tampa Bay's offense does enough, and Tampa Bay's run defense stops Rico, stops Chuba, and it really puts the game more into Bryce Young's hands. And I don't think that Bryce is equipped. I mean, we've seen him do it, I guess, but I don't think that he can do it multiple times in the same season.
yeah. I'm gonna go with the Bucks here too. I don't think the Panthers are a good team. If I'm frankly being honest, like I just don't. I really don't think they're that good of a team. I know they've beaten the Packers. I know they beat the Rams. Their defense is at least somewhat capable. Their offense, if you can slow down, like you just said, the run game, it's going to be a lot more easy for these teams to beat them. So I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. I think Vita Vea, like you said, is a big factor in that. Obviously, we'll see how they play in this one, and that'll change our thoughts on Week 18. But this one, I'm gonna go with the Bucks here as well. Moving on, we got the Bills taking on the Browns. Shedeur Sanders obviously just put up a stinker last week. The Bills, Josh Allen, the other quarterback in this game, is playing like the MVP. Came back from a 21-0 deficit against the Patriots, who obviously everyone was talking about very, very highly. My hot take almost came true, the win by double digits, but obviously the Bills won, so it wasn't too far off. But the comeback was absolutely insane. I'm not going to speak too much on this because I think the Bills should be able to win this one pretty easily. But I'll go with the Bills here in this one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, the only storyline in this game is will Miles Garrett break the sack
Yep,
record? Give me the
one
Bills.
one one sack. That's all he needs.
I don't know if I think he'll get Josh. Josh runs
I
around a
think it's
lot. Like,
possible. Yeah. I The thing is, I think if Josh Allen, since he knows he needs one to get the record, if he could just throw the ball away, he could take an intentional grounding, honestly, just to spite him. Like I could see that happening, just being a storyline in the game. So we'll see for sure. Moving on, we got the Chargers taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. Ty, what are your thoughts on this one with the Cowboys? Basically, I think they have like a less than 1% chance, but not like
yeah,
completely mathematically eliminated. And then the Chargers still fighting for a playoff seed.
yeah, less than 1% chance. But Jerry said they're going to keep fighting, and I truly believe that. I think that this team has shown a lot of growth in the latter half of the
Yep.
season. Obviously, offensively, there's been some questions about Pickett's effort, but he came out today and he just said that it's kind of an old, it's getting old. Like, I think he cares. I think he is trying. I think it's just, I don't know. I don't really see it. I saw it the first game, but the second game around, I was like, okay, like we're just kind of being a dead horse here. Like I didn't
Yeah.
really see the lack of effort with him, but um, I think that those guys will have a pretty good day against the Chargers secondary. I don't think secondary is decent. They're not world beaters. It's a decent defense overall. They played better as of late, but it's still the Dallas offense. I mean, they it's like they'll put up 30 points every game. They just will probably lose by, and allow 40 still, even though that, defensively they've gotten better. With the Chargers, offensive line still remains an issue. Like I mentioned, their defense has gotten better. Herbert continues to be, another week separated from the hand surgery, and Hampton coming back. They're getting healthier and they're looking better week after week. Close one with Kansas City last week, but they're Kansas City was fighting for uh, their season pretty much, right? Like
Yeah.
they needed to win that game to have a chance. It was in Arrowhead. It's a division game. This one's tough for me. I was leaning Dallas, but then I started to think, okay, the Chargers defense is playing a little bit better and they're getting healthier. I'm gonna go with the Chargers here. I think that they're gonna do enough to score against this defense, and it'll probably be a high scoring game if I have to guess, because Dallas's offense is pretty much unstoppable. So give me the Chargers, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I'm blown because I was expecting to pick the Cowboys after all of the hype you were giving the offense, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers here as well in this one. I think that it could end up being a close, high scoring game, and the Chargers pull it out. But I just think the Chargers defense will outlast the Cowboys defense, similar to what you said. They're playing better right now, and they got a new tight end, Trevor Penning. Watch out for him. He had a catch last week. That no, I'm sorry. That is just the funniest storyline in the world to me. They traded us. They traded an asset for a guy that the Saints literally were trying to just get rid of for absolutely anything. They realized that he was trash, like all the Saints fans were saying, and all the Saints were pretty much recognizing this guy's trash. We got to get rid of him. And then they realized he was too terrible to start at O line, so they threw him a pass. And yeah, but I think the Chargers do win this game. I just think that's a hilarious storyline. Anyways, moving on, we got the Jets and Brady Cook taking on the Saints. Tyler Shough is playing like the future MVP down 5 years down the road when he's winning the Saints 2 Super Bowl rings and uh
I can't take you seriously.
I couldn't keep it going. It was a fantasy and I didn't really know what
Go
to
in there
say,
and
but
make it all about yourself, right?
yeah, I think Tyler Shough is the future. I will say that. I'm very confident in what he's building with Kellen Moore and the obviously the chemistry he has with Chris Olave, Devon Vele in the offense right now. You add a receiver, I think it'll get even better. But this Jets team is simply in disarray. They just cut or they just fired their defensive coordinator. The Saints are really riding high. It's going to be a home game. I think the stadium should be relatively packed because it's the last home game. So give me the Saints here at home riding high without Devin Neal and Devon Vele. Those are two big blows, and Kamara. So give me the Saints here, but I'm only picking them just because the Jets are in a state of disarray and they're riding a high. So give me the Saints. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Saints too. I hate Brady Cook. He sucks. And anytime that if you watch the offseason stuff, you know I hate Brady Cook. It's the Jets starting him. I mean, he's terrible. I really think that they're tanking for Mendoza. They have great weapons, or
Yeah,
not great. They have good weapons around what would be Mendoza. Like between I've talked about AD, Mechie, Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall. Brady Cook is terrible. He is so good. He is just terrible. He tanked Luther Burden's draft stock. Luther Burden had a good junior year. He came back, and Brady Cook was throwing him balls that, Luther Burden would be wide open, and he would throw it 10 yards behind him, and you have to come back to the ball. Like, it's just he was tanking his draft stock, and I just hate Brady Cook, so give me the Saints.
yeah. Saints riding high into the offseason. They're building towards that NFC South victory and the banner being hung in the Superdome next year. So, anyways, moving on, we got the Vikings taking on the Giants. Ty, what are your thoughts on this one? Obviously, Jackson Dart playing a really physical defense.
Yeah, I just want to say first, division banners are kind of whack. Like, I'm not a
No, I
fan.
agree. I do agree with that.
Anyways,
It's like the
the
what's
NBA
called
Cup.
yeah, the Knicks said they're not hanging a banner,
Yeah,
which
good.
respect to them. Respect to
Yeah,
them, yeah.
it's whack. Anyways, yeah, I mean, this is, two quarterbacks that we talked about earlier. Jackson Dart always giving his team a chance to compete in games. I think it's going to be tough for him in this one because the Minnesota defense is so good. JJ looked decent last week, albeit against not a great defense. What's interesting about him, and this was the case in college too. He really connects with the tight ends well. Like TJ
Mhm.
Hawkinson, and him have established a good connection. Isaiah Oliver has kind of stepped it up as well. In college, it was Colston Loveland, and he's always kind of ignored the receiver. Like Roman Wilson in college was a good receiver. Justin Jefferson here. I don't think that's really an area of concern against the Giants secondary that has. I think they're not great against the pass. I forget exactly how many yards per game they're allowing, and I think they're, and where they rank, but it's not great regardless. And I think Justin could have a decent game against the Giants, but I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to the Vikings defense is really, really good and will be able to stop all the weapons around Jackson Dart, and hopefully Jackson doesn't get a concussion again. But give me the Vikings.
Yeah, give me the Vikings here too. Nothing to add. I just think their defense will hold the Giants to a respectable number. Anyways, moving on, we had the Chiefs taking on the Titans. Not too much to say about this one. I think Gardner Minshew obviously is a solid enough quarterback to beat this Titans team. The Titans really just are struggling on all cylinders. So give me the Chiefs here. could be a close game, and maybe the Titans do win, but I got to pick the Chiefs with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Gardner gives him a chance. The Titans are. I just like we talked about earlier. They don't have good enough talent around Cam Ward to win a game like this. So give me the Chiefs.
Moving on, we got the Bengals taking on the Dolphins. Obviously, Joe Burrow was talking to how he's struggling being happy. There's a really weird conversation in the press conference that day, and after a loss, and they're kind of out of it right now after being shut down completely by the Ravens, whose defense has been struggling in past weeks. What are your thoughts on this one against the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, if Tua was in this game, I think the way that they were playing as of late, he gives them a competitive chance. I don't quite think, we haven't seen much out of Quinn. We saw him come in
Yep.
for a little bit. I think this is a good opportunity for him to come in and play against, a defense that's not fantastic. Has been better as of late in some different situations, but still not great. I just think that the Bengals offense is too good to lose this game. Like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, all those guys. The the Dolphins defense is not great. Has been better as of late. We kind of talked about this week over week. Like they have been better, but it's again against bad talent. So I think it's kind of inflating the stats. Like it was against the Jets and some of these bad teams. It just I don't know. I think they're still a bad defense. I think Chase Brown could have a lot of success on the ground because they were one of the worst run defenses in the NFL for a large part of the season and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase will just pick anyone apart. So give me the Bengals.
Yeah, give me the Bengals here too. I need Chase Brown to ball out for my dynasty playoffs, so I'm praying that he has a big game this week. But give me the Bengals here over the Dolphins. Moving on, we got the Falcons taking on the Cardinals. Obviously, the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett has been playing pretty solid for them. They're just throwing the ball left and right now. I believe Michael Carter is going to be the lead back in this one. Um, the Falcons on the other side, they won a game. They came back against the Bucks in a very big comeback. Props to them. They're out of the playoffs, so at least they're fighting for something still. But I'm gonna pick them over the Cardinals just because the Cardinals are struggling so much on defense right now. It's been ridiculous how much they're letting guys just letting points up left and right. And obviously their offense it's very very one sided right now. So the Foul Clowns can just relatively limit Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Jacoby Brissett. They should be able to win this one. So give me the Falcons here. What are your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, I think the Falcons have a good enough defense to do that. And Drake London back at practice this week. If he, can play, that's obviously a huge boost for them. I just think it's shocking what the Cardinals defense has become because early in the season we talked about them as a
Yep.
defense that was playing pretty well, had a lot of young guys that were, building into something and to see what they falter to is it's shocking, but give me the Falcons.
Moving on, Ty, to your game, we got the Jaguars taking on the Broncos. Jaguars still obviously fighting for a spot and potentially the AFC South title. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Jaguars obviously huge win last week, albeit against a bad Jets team. But it was, Trevor Lawrence has slowly gotten better week over week, has started to play better up, to his talent level, to his ceiling. But obviously not quite to his ceiling yet of what we discussed him as a prospect. But Liam Cohen has him playing at a higher level. I think it's helped that Parker Washington's been healthy. Jacoby Myers has been a huge boost to this offense. And the run game has, been more consistent. I think it was pretty good in the beginning of the year, kind of dropped down in the middle of the season and is starting to go back up again. They do lose Basil Tootin, which, does hurt them a little bit, but I think probably more carries for obviously ETN and then a little bit more of a look for LaQuint Allen, maybe in the passing game. On the flip side, Denver, they lose Brendan Jones last week, which is a huge loss for this defense. He's kind of that captain back in the center field. Hufunga's their hard hitting, strong safety, and then Brandon Jones is their free safety that kind of roams the middle. They do have PJ Locke, who was a starter last year, who will fill in for him. PJ's pretty good, but he's not Brandon Jones's level. So it is a knock to the defense. So both teams dealing with smaller injuries that kind of do add up, and it affects your flow. At the end of the day, the way that Bo Nix is playing right now, the way that this Denver defense is playing right now, and the way that they've done it against good teams like Green Bay, right? I mean, say what you want, Green Bay Packers fans crying on Twitter all over. Christian Watson got hurt and Micah Parsons got hurt. Christian Watson got hurt on the pick that turned the tide, and he had 3 catches for 29 yards. Micah Parsons, when he got hurt, the tide was already turning, and the offense was playing pretty much lights out from start to finish. Outside of the RJ Harvey fumble, Bo looked unstoppable. The run game started to pick it back up, and the defense turned it on late. I know Jacksonville's got a good defense. Their defense is not as good as Green Bay's. I think that the offense for Denver will have some success against them. Defensively, Trevor Lawrence is not going to throw for 5 touchdowns again. I said he's played better. He's not playing the Jets defense. So give me
0
Denver,
picks.
obviously, in this one. 0 picks, yeah, but
The Jets.
it
the Jets defense as a whole has had 0
oh,
picks
yeah,
the whole season.
yeah,
So
right, right. And I'll say this, here's a stat. Trevor Lawrence has never had a 3-game stretch where he didn't throw an interception. He just had that 3-game stretch. That game that's not going to 4. He's not going to 4. There's no chance in hell. He didn't get the third game, he didn't throw an interception because he played the Jets, so give me the Broncos.
yeah, give me the Broncos here too. I think their defense is too good for this Jaguars team. And I think, like you just said, Trevor Lawrence has a step back a little bit. So he comes back down to earth. Give me the Broncos here too.
A 12-game winning streak, man? I mean, come on.
It's gotta end.
Nah, it's not ending. It'll end when we bench the
Not
starters the last week against the Chargers.
yeah,
That's
week
when it'll end.
18. I could see
And
that.
people
What do
said
you
I was
need
an idiot.
what do you need to clinch the 1 seed? 2 wins? 1 win?
2 wins and you'll clinch it. 1 win and, like, a bunch of things this week. 2
Oh,
wins
okay.
because even if we lose that last week, we hold the tiebreaker over New England. So, yeah, 2 wins and it's ours. And we get these guys, and then we get Kansas City on Christmas Day without Mahomes. So, I mean, it's pretty if
Yeah,
you win this
that'll help.
game, it feels like a lock at this point. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
people
I
said I was
definitely
an
agree. This
idiot
is a big
for
one.
people said I was
Sorry,
an
go ahead.
idiot for saying 14-3 was the floor the ceiling and 12-5 was the floor, but here we
That's
are.
why hey, we both were high on the Denver Broncos, man. We were high on them to win the division, and people were the Chiefs run this division. It's just, of course, it's the Chiefs
Bo Nick
fans out there,
sucks.
but
Yeah, Sturb, yeah. Yep.
wherever you are, Sturb, Ty's firing shots. But anyways,
I still haven't
moving.
heard a word from him.
Yeah, no, he won't comment on the Bo
Radio
Nick stuff.
silent after that game.
anyways, anyways, moving on, we got the Steelers taking on the Lions. The Steelers obviously playing really good football right now, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers is playing solid. They've figured out a little bit of a tush push scheme going, and that has helped them in a few clutch short yarded situations. DK Metcalf has been playing well. He still needs 200 yards, I believe, to get to 1,000 yards, which is big for Sturb and I. We have a bet where it's like $20 if he gets 1,000 yards or not. I picked that he will. But I think the Steelers team is playing well. Their defense is playing at a solid level. The Lions on the other side still fighting for a divisional spot, hopefully, and fighting for the playoffs. And now with Micah Parsons going down, it really does open the door for them to possibly come back and win this division. They have a big game against the Bears again coming up. So this is a huge game for them. If they can win this, it keeps those hopes alive at winning the division. I'm going to go with the Lions here. The run game is going to be huge in this one. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a huge game against the Steelers defense that has struggled against the run in past games. Obviously, the Dolphins weren't able to really get the ground game going, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs will have no problem in this one. I think obviously there's a stat going around where Jahmyr Gibbs has gone like 0 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 0 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns a couple times this season. He had 0 this past week. Maybe the 3 is on the horizon. It would kill me in Dynasty. I'm playing
Now
Jahmyr.
me too. I'm
I'm
also
playing
playing him. I
Jahmyr
pray
Gibbs.
to God he doesn't.
Yeah, that was gonna be my hot take. I was gonna say he goes for like 200 yards and 3 tutties, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm playing him. I can't root for that. So,
I
so I'm
pray to God.
I'm praying the Steelers shut him down, and I'm praying I'm wrong about the pick. But give me the Lions here. Ty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Lions are just the better football team. Jared Goff is playing at a really high level. I saw a bunch of statistics like completion percentage against the blitz, completion percentage with a clean pocket. Like he's like top 3 in most of those advanced statistics. So, I think against a defense that's not that great, obviously they played a little bit better in past weeks. See if TJ Watt can go this week, but I don't think that's really gonna matter. Like you said, Gibbs is such a dynamic weapon that he will probably dice up the Steelers team, and I'll lose my dynasty game. So, give me the Lions.
Yeah, I'll take the Lions here too. Moving on, we got the Raiders taking on the Texans. Ty, anything to say?
No, I mean We'll see if Gino is expected to possibly be back this week, but this Houston defense is going to eat the Raiders alive. They're ravenous. They fly around, um, and the offense for the Texans is playing a lot better at this point in time. The Raiders defense is also bad. So yeah, give me the Texans, and it's not even close.
Yeah, give me the Texans. I have Nico Collins in Dynasty, so I'm praying they don't forget
Me
about
too.
him after the first play of the game, like they're like the first drive of the game, like they did last week. He ended up
They gave
having
him
2
another
touchdowns.
touchdown. Yeah,
He did towards the end of the game, but I was so worried that they were just gonna give him the one and just
yeah.
Hutchinson, this is your game from now on. It was scaring me a little bit, but yeah, give me the Texans here too. Moving on to Sunday night football, we got the Patriots taking on the Ravens. The Ravens obviously fighting to still possibly get the division seed. The Patriots on the other side fighting to keep that division lead over the Bills. I'm gonna pick the Patriots here. I'm gonna be pretty quick with this one. I don't think the Ravens are a good team. I think Lamar Jackson is still relatively hindered. I don't believe in their offense very much. Ty has said in our group chat and things like that that it is still Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and I think that's definitely something that you don't want to see in the playoffs. But I think the Patriots are going to be pissed off after that loss to the Bills in a comeback loss fashion. I'm going to go with the Patriots here over the Ravens. Ty, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a lot closer than you think. Drake. I mean, last week the just the passing game was not great. Obviously, he ran for
Bit
two
destructive.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
If the Ravens defense can play the way that they did last week, they're going to make life a lot harder on Drake May. And I think it's really a wild card game, right? And
Yeah.
it's not even what do you get from the Patriots. You know what you're going to get from the Patriots. I think depending on their opponent, the Ravens, it's what do you get from their defense, and what do you get from Lamar. And I think we'll see on Sunday Night Football, but I think it's a closer game than I think you're giving off, but I will take the Patriots.
Let me say this. I will say I have a $5 bet for the divisional winners where I picked all the divisional winners. I picked the Ravens and the Bills to win the divisions, their respective divisions. So I'm actually actively preying on my own downfall with this pick, but I will go with the Patriots here to win this one.
You're not gonna go broke.
I'm praying that the bet hits. It would be
Yeah, I'm praying for you too.
it would take ridiculous crazy scenarios to hit, but yeah, I'm praying. But anyways, moving on to Monday Night Football, Ty, we got the 49ers taking on Philip Rivers and the Colts, who almost stole a win against Seattle. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Phil in his first game back in a short period of time, did not look terrible, right? He looked pretty good. And he gets a long week to prep for the 49ers. I just I don't quite believe in it at this point in time, especially against the schedule that they have coming up is so tough. And the way that the 49ers have been playing, offensively with McCaffrey, I mean, he is just unstoppable
Yep.
in both facets of the game. Defensively, they played pretty well, and that's without Fred Warner, with losing guys in the offseason, without Nick Bosa. Like, I still think, the 49ers, I mean, they still have a chance to win this division at this point in time. So, I feel like they're just kind of slept on team that's kind of going under the radar because Seattle and the Rams have been kind of duking it out. But, the 49ers are quietly 10-4 with, a banged up defense and even offensively without Pearsall and guys like that. I'm going to take the 49ers. I think that their defense is going to do enough to slow down Jonathan Taylor, and Philip Rivers won't be able to kind of carry them. And I think that their offense, the Colts defense has played better as of late. They've kind of carried them through some of these games, especially last week, right? Not letting the Seahawks score a
Yep.
touchdown. But I don't think that that's going to happen this week. I think Brock Purdy and George Kittle and CMC can do much more than Sam Darnold was able to do last week.
Yeah, give me the 49ers here as well. I am impressed by the Colts. Obviously, Blake Grupe went out and kicked a 60-yarder and then said he trash talked the Saints for some shit oh, that one man's trash, another man's treasure, whatever. Like, dude, you sucked. You were the worst kicker in the league. There's a reason you were cut. Like, it's just it pissed me off. So I'm preying on the Colts downfall actively right now. So give me the 49ers here in this one. But not I will say I'm not preying on Philip Rivers' downfall. I think that's a very fun
Grandpa.
story. Yeah, it's a very fun story and I would love to see him go out and win. Like that would be really fun, but give me the 49ers here. Anyways, that'll do it for our picks for the week. But really quick, we're going to do our rapid fire discussions. Ty, we'll start off with our hot takes of the week. What's your hot take of the week going to be?
Yeah, my hot take of the week is that the Texans have 7+ sacks this week against the Raiders. Like I said, the Raiders' offensive line, not great. Whether it's Geno, whether it's Pickett, I don't think it matters. The Texans' defense is ravenous. They have really good edge rushers in Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, and even their interior guys are pretty damn good too. So give me 7+ sacks for the Texans as my hot take.
Yeah, I planned this wasn't planned, but I'm also picking against the Raiders here. I'm going to the Texans to beat the Raiders by 32 plus points.
Oh my God.
The uh the
32.
the Eagles just scored 31 against them, shut them out, and that was the largest point differential of the season so far in a game. And I think the Texans defense is better, so I'm going to go with the 32 points. I want to see them beat that point differential. That's the only reason why I picked that game. I think it would be a fun situation. Bad for the Raiders, but obviously
Yeah. If you're a Raiders fan,
it would be
send this
fun.
on.
I feel bad. We're picking on them a little bit, but they're bad right
They're
now.
bad.
It's got to be said. Anyways, moving on to our fantasy sleepers of the week. Ty, what is your fantasy sleeper of the week going to be?
Yeah, I had a few. We kind of talked about Monangai as a possibility, as a guy that has a good chance. Kind of talked about Coker against the Bucks, Bucks secondary, and I think that they're going to force the Panthers to throw the ball. But at the end of the day, I'm going to settle on Audric Estime. I think he has a great opportunity to step in with Devin Neal down, with Kamara probably not playing. He did decently well last week, and he goes against a Jets team that is just void of talent on the defensive side of the ball. They got rid of their best run stuffer in Quentin Williams. ETN, while he didn't, I think he had 130 total yards. It was like 50 on the ground, but he added 70 through the air
There's
as
a lot,
well.
yeah.
So I think, and the Jaguars didn't quite honestly need to run the ball either. They did whatever they wanted through the air on this team. And, we've talked about this a little bit. Like the Saints, they're going to want to get the ball to the backs. Like they're going to, um, the receivers on the outside aren't fantastic. So, they've relied on Devin Neal or Kamara, whoever it's been. So I think SMA's got a good opportunity to score, double digit points. And at this point in time, if you're dealing with some injuries and you can 100% get this guy on waivers and he's projected 11 points right now, if he hits that mark, that's a great addition to your flex. So give me
Yeah,
Aldridge.
I believe he had 3 receptions in the 4th quarter alone. So
He's
he
not yeah,
they're looking at
he's
him the
not
ball.
he's not a big receiving back, in his time in Denver, he wasn't catching the ball a ton, but he did, every now and then he did catch some passes, and it's not like the Saints, they just called up Nyheim Hines, and who's a good receiving option, but he just came to the team. So,
Yeah.
I don't expect him to get too many reps.
That's a last 2 game kind of thing where they're going to give him more reps probably towards the end of the season. But yeah, I agree here. I think that's a solid pick for everyone out there. We went with the same team again. And again, this is not organized, but I picked Juwan Johnson here. He is obviously a top 10 tight end, so it's not the biggest sleeper, but I feel like he is a guy that's going to be on people's bench where they have like a better tight end and a flex option available. I think he could be a really solid flex option this week with Devon Vele being out. Tyler Shough likes attacking the middle of the field. Juwan Johnson's been that guy for the Saints before the Devon Vele ascension happened. So give me Juwan Johnson to have. I think he's going to have like 5 or 6 catches, could score another touchdown in this one. And again, like we just said, it's against the Jets defense that's really, really weak right now, really, really poor. I believe the Saints are going to be leaning on Tyler Shough in the pass game. So give me Juwan Johnson here.
These 2 were college teammates too. They played together at Oregon when Juwan Johnson was a receiver.
Yep. Yeah, way back when. And that maybe
Yeah.
that's the reason why he's sort of started playing a lot better, because when Rattler was in, he was having a lot of issues catching the ball. Didn't really seem like they were on the same page a few times, and he just wasn't really doing well. But now he's been playing like a top 10 tight end. He has been in the league. It's a crazy turn of events, but I like to see it as a Saints fan. So especially with the contract we're giving him, I think he's getting like 10 or 12 mil a year, which is
Yeah, I wanted
top tier
Denver to
money.
get him, and then I saw the contract, and I was like, "Eh."
Yeah. I picked the Chiefs to go get him when Travis Kelce left, because I feel like it would have been a good kind of replacement, but I think the Saints are going to hold on to him for now. So we'll see how that plays out. But anyways, that'll do it. Make sure to comment down below your guys' thoughts on the rookie quarterbacks, your lists of the rookie quarterbacks, your rankings, and let us know what you guys think for this upcoming slate down below in the comments. You guys know where to check us out on social media at Jenks Island and wherever you get your podcasts at Jenks Island as well. We'll see you guys next week.